Nestled alongside a sleepy highway in northwest Iowa, somehow both in plain sight and hidden away, rests the relics of a vibrant past laid low by the cruelty of time. It's quiet now, the peaceful whispering of surrounding cornfields only occasionally interrupted by the drone of passing tire treads. But it wasn't always so. Erected in 1900 on land purchased from Civil War veteran John C. Ruble, and alongside a dirt track connecting the towns of Akron and Lamars, the Marbach store provided the perfect stopping point to refresh travelers making their way through Plymouth County, and the wives of farmers who would stop in to catch up on the latest local news as they shopped for supplies. The store's most prolific client, however, may have been the country school, which stood mere yards away, with its ravenous appetite for various types of sundries. In 1910, the country school's young teacher, Matey Johnson, planned to attend classes in Cedar Falls and was accompanied to the train station by her friend, a German immigrant named Henry Marbach. However, on their way to the train station in Lamars, Cupid's arrow found its mark. And the two instead stopped at the justice of the peace, returning home hours later as husband and wife. Henry had recently bought out his co-owner's share of the store and found his new wife to be a quite able business partner as well as a romantic one. 5 children came in short order, and everything seemed right in the world until Henry Marbach took ill with Spanish flu, which was in the middle of ravaging the nation. After a 2-week battle, the flu became pneumonia, and in December of 1918, Matey Marbach, herself intensely ill with flu, buried her husband in a peaceful spot overlooking the Big Sioux River. Her husband's death at the age of 39 left Matey in a dire predicament. The store was underwater to the tune of $9,000, a massive sum for its time. But rather than despair, the young widow set to work on the Herculean task before her, acquiring loans co-signed by generous friends and neighbors, and working from 6 in the morning until midnight, until every loan was repaid. She put the store back in the black while raising 5 children, all miraculously spared from the influenza epidemic, and strengthening customer relationships and business contacts throughout the area. She put her children to work as soon as they were able, with general cleaning, portioning out bulk goods, and candling eggs amongst their responsibilities. This high water mark for the Ruble store came to a close in January of 1934 when Matey became ill with appendicitis. Despite every effort to save her life, she was taken from this world at the age of 47 and laid to rest beside her husband. The funeral was conservatively estimated to have 1,000 mourners in attendance and required an electric sound system, the first of its kind in the area. The next 30 years saw eldest daughter Helen and middle son Lowell continue the family trade, albeit intermittently, with the store standing empty for a total of 12 years. Until second daughter Ruth and her husband Bill Lamore purchased the property in 1965 and began implementing improvements. A machine shop was added, as well as improved gasoline pumps and the porcelain Sinclair sign that the store became well known for. Ruth, who served as an Army nurse and was discharged in 1946 at the rank of captain, and Bill, a farmer, ranch hand, and former Army Staff Sergeant in the 90th Division, together made an inspired pair, and soon Bill's trading post was humming along. But the 1960s were a time of momentous change, with the expansion of the U.S. interstate system, the upgrading of many country roads, and the introduction of full-service supermarkets into rural communities. Country stores were rapidly becoming obsolete. Despite those omens, the Lamores carried on, keeping the business afloat and offering a middle-of-nowhere oasis for locals to stop in for groceries and conversation. The children on their bicycles could count on a Tootsie Roll and a smile from the kind merchants at the Ruble store. Their children, Tom and Mary, learned the trade and spent their youth helping their industrious parents. But by the early 1980s, newspaper articles about the store began having the same theme. Someone, buy me out. Let me retire. Please. But a buyer never came. The two soldiered on, changing tires, pumping gas, selling dry goods, watching business dwindle, until calendar still hangs on the wall, marking the end of an era. Bill and Ruth had a home moved onto the property to enjoy their retirement in, but their golden years were to be short-lived. Ruth passed on 3 years into their retirement, and Bill followed 15 months later. Time. 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 Time is uncaring. It marches forward whether you're ready for it to or not. The months become years, which themselves become decades. The decades rob our youthful selves of our vibrancy until only shells remain. Time. Time. Mary still lives here, residing amongst the shades of the past within the home of her parents. But this is more than just her home. She is intrinsically linked to Ruble. Her family has been part of its history for all but its first half-dozen years. Mary is Ruble, and it is her. Its characteristics have bled into her being, making her a rugged old soul who is both beloved in the local community, but also hidden away in plain sight. A lot like Ruble itself. But she is still here, living alongside the ghosts of her ancestors and willing to tell their stories to anyone who takes the time to ask. Because Ruble isn't just her story. It's all of our story. It's a story for those of us who remain today, and for those who will come after we are gone. It's an American story.